Hello, hello. So today is going to be another talky, chatty, get ready with me because I've just been working on a paper for a couple hours and my progress has been really terrible. So I just kind of need to take a break and reset. So I'm going to do my makeup before I get back into it. So today, and I kind of oscillate between like makeup things and like big heavy talks, but today is definitely a big heavy talk today because I have been following, I know this is like a weird thing, I'm not in a violent relationship at all. So I don't want you guys to like reach out for support. But like I've been following some domestic violence abuse victims. And the reason being is I think it's actually really, really incredible to find out how they succeeded, if that makes sense. I don't want to hear, the trauma, and it's not really a sense of voyeurism. I think if you're a mental health counselor and you find yourself wanting to know because you want to know, you're in the wrong headspace. You don't need to know. It's bad enough that your client knows. You don't need to know. But for when people are willing to share their stories and when people are able to provide you with insight, I think you should absolutely take that whenever you can, whenever that information is available. And it opens up your eyes to a lot of the struggles that women have to go through just getting away. Case in point, one of the things that this domestic abuse survivor, knew she needed a credit card. That is one of the pieces of advice that is, kind of given out. Like, oh, you should have credit. You establish your own name, have a card, have financial freedom if you ever need to get away. But, her spouse had frozen their credit, preventing exactly that. So that was another hurdle that she had to climb, and not one that I would have thought about on my own. So that's just an example of why I watch this type of programming. But I've watched maybe half of her releases, but there was a particular comment on it that kind of got under my skin, where the person just said, how do you sleep at night knowing that you survived domestic violence for, however long her marriage was? I think it was over 10 years. And then you're charging people for the content. And by the way, a lot of the content she's making is free, but not all of it is. Like, she does have a business centered around survivorship. And it kind of hit me the wrong way because, one, you lose a lot of credibility when you aren't doing the thing that you're criticizing someone else for doing, right? Like, anyone can backseat drive. But if you're not out there making content, quality content that is based on the experiences and practices of someone who's lived through it and has researched it and is putting content out there to help women, what puts you, it's like a what gives you the right situation. Like, are you really in a position to be criticizing the actions of someone else who is actually doing the content? Unless that content is somehow clearly predatory. Like, if she were capitalizing on other women's suffering, clearly that would be problematic. But that's not what she's doing. And in her defense, a lot of her content is free, and she also does a lot of like pro bono stuff to help women in those situations, especially if they can't afford the tools and resources herself. So she is absolutely not predatory. But I also want to stress, like, it didn't feel quite as much as an attack on her as maybe they intended it. It felt like an attack on women because it is predominantly women who are, victims of domestic violence. So it felt odd to me to criticize her for that perspective. Like, how can you take that away from someone? Like, someone's been through something so completely horrendous, and then you're like, oh, and you're not even allowed to talk about it now. You're not allowed to sell your story. You're not allowed to write manuals and then charge people for that cost. Like, you're not even allowed to do that. Sorry, I know my kids are loud in the background. That's probably distracting to you. Certainly is to me. Like, where do you get off, like, telling someone what they can and shouldn't do? It's like she'd be damned if she did and damned if she didn't. Like, she didn't share her story. People were like, oh, you really need to do this. You could be helping people out. You not doing that is selfish. And then when, someone's like, I've kind of healed, I'm ready to get out there, people are like, oh yeah, but this is how you have to do it. Don't charge for it. And I'm like, okay, so she has to do all that for free, and now it is her burden to prevent other women from getting abused. And it's like, no, it was never her burden to keep other women from getting abused. It is the abusive buttholes that are doing it in the first place. They should be the ones held accountable. You should never feel bad, especially if you have something to offer. Like, you should never feel bad about having a product that people want to buy and that people are paying for and then charging money for it. Like, the market will determine the value. So if you are offering something for sale and someone says, yes, that is a fair price and I am willing to pay for it, that is its worth. And someone else shouldn't get to tell you. It's just wrong. It's so insultingly wrong. I get really frustrated that was the attitude that person had, because it wasn't really their place to tell her how much her product is worth. And if it's that valuable to insinuate that she should give it away for free, it's nonsense. I think there's a lot to be said about entrepreneurship when men go through something traumatizing and they sell a manual, or this is how I did it, or how to get rich, how to be just like me, and then they sell that, and people are like, oh yeah, well, it makes sense, you're going to capitalize off your experiences. And then like a woman does that and they're like, then that suddenly becomes predatory. It's not any more predatory to in fact, I say it's less predatory than people who legitimately like capitalize on other people's aspirations. Like, it's you're not any better because you're dealing with people who are seeking out optimism, because you are capitalizing on people who are broken. They might not be broken through physical abuse, but a lot of the self-help books are playing on like get rich quick. And I'm not blowing steam up my ass. I'm coming up from the coaching space. I have seen a lot of that in my niche, where everybody wants the secret to success and they want you to give it to them. And we as coaches are so eager to sell it that we start making absolutely redonkulous promises that are not in keeping with the spirit of actual coaching. And you see that all the time. Like, it's probably not true. It is really not true, because every coach I know is ethical. But it does feel like in like the social media space, it doesn't really feel like you have that same representations. It does sort of feel like they're all crazy and they're all out to get you and they're all out to take your money and run. But unless that's what you're doing, again, you should never feel bad about having a product and then offering it for people to sell, because that is not, again, that's not coercive. People in their daily life get to make decisions about what they want and what they're willing to buy and work for. And again, it's just so patronizing to say that women can't determine their own value and what they're willing to pay for something. Sorry, not their own value, but like a sense of valueship, like what they're willing to pay for. And if a woman has the means and has the desire, then she should be able to sell, and she should be able to purchase that technology. I keep wanting to say technology, but it's not technology. It's really a story or a resource or a guide. Like, especially if you're a man. I don't remember if this comment was a man or a woman, but like, especially if you're in that space, probably best not to tell women how they should be running things if you're part of the problem and not part of the solution. Just saying. And then I think it also ignores the reality of, like, if you've been out of the workforce because your spouse didn't allow you to work, or he only allowed you to work a certain type of job. Maybe it's not a field you want to be in. Maybe you need to cut a clean break. Maybe it was underpaid. A lot of spouses, if they do work, their spouse has complete control of the finances. But for whatever reason, you are going to be behind in your career field if you worked at all. And this may be your best shot at entrepreneurship. This is what you have and what you can bring to the world, because it's what you've been carrying with you for 10 years. And you don't have 10 years, of veterinary experience. You didn't get to operate on animals. You didn't get to become a CPA and become an accountant and work with other people's finances, right? Like, you have what you have, which is your story. And then to tell a domestic violence victim, like, oh, you can't sell that, is, again, it's just coming from the wrong spirit. Like, there's no world in which I feel that it's appropriate to tell people how they handle their pain, and to tell them how that they should heal from their recovery and how they should make a living when all of that has been deprived for them. You're actually contributing to this idea that it is okay to control women. You are, and I know this sounds like crazy because it is a very different scale, but you are contributing to the problem when you berate or belittle women for, making an economy out of the skill set that they have. And if someone worked, years, and the task is very difficult, for you to imply that they shouldn't charge from it is wrong, unless it's, immoral, unethical, or illegal. You really don't have a place to tell someone. And honestly, you don't actually have a place to tell someone, even if it's immoral, because clearly they have a different set of morals. You are not the moral police. So that is why I kind of do beef with that. So I just kind of want to throw it out there to people who have trauma in their background. Doesn't need to be domestic violence, although that is certainly an excellent example. Other people don't get to tell you if you share your story. They don't get to tell you how much that story is worth. They should not, although they probably will, bully you for how or when you choose to share your story. There are obviously exceptions, right? Like, you don't want to share it over someone else. You don't want to lie, but I mean, that's not sharing your story. It's just lying. You don't have to let someone you don't even know control your life, especially if you just got out of a marriage in which someone was literally controlling your life. You don't need to worry about that. So, like, just disregard people's opinions. You get to heal in your own way, to your choosing, in the way that heals and suits you best. So that was kind of like my 2 cents, like, going in. And I don't know, like, how big of a problem this is for creators, because I am just now getting into this space, so I don't know if it's a more common reaction. But yeah, like, it's so ironic that someone is like, no, you're not allowed to charge for these products that you have made. You now have to do it for no compensation. It's just absolutely ridiculous. And again, the irony is not lost on me. I would actually say, go see a therapist and just say, hey, I've been thinking about doing this. And they're going to say, why? And you're like, I go and think it happened. It's going to help me here. And I almost guarantee you any therapist is going to say, that sounds amazing. It always sounds amazing when someone takes their own healing into their hands. It always feels amazing when someone is like, I think I can make a business and I can support myself in a way that I never have before. It sounds amazing when you're like, ooh, I think I have a way that I can help other people here and not go through this. I mean, you're honestly, at that point, you're probably your therapist's, like, favorite client, right? Because you're owning your healing. And don't let anybody take that away from you. Don't let anybody tell you that you shouldn't be charging if you need to charge or if you want to charge. Again, it's an open economy. People have free will. You're not coercing domestic violence victims. You're giving them an opportunity should they choose to take it. And that is empowering. That is exactly what people need who are in that situation. They don't need to be told what to do by yet another person. I mean, honestly, I've never been in a domestic violence situation, and I still don't want to be told what to do, you know? So that's just, more power to you if you are out there and you are struggling. There's this great advice. I probably mentioned this like a lot because it's some of my favorite advice in the world from Brene Brown, of course, the great. If you don't care about that person, like, why do you care about their opinion? Like, if you were to write their names on a Post-it note, as the people that you care about and the opinions you care about, and their name isn't on that Post-it note, when they offer you their opinion, just let it go. I mean, I know that's simple, and simple is not always easy, but yeah, it can be hard to like look at comments like that and be like, people really don't get it. People really don't realize what it does psychologically to these women, and they just have all the advice, but none of the experience. Someone who's going through, again, a perfect example of backseat driving. So I hope that you are doing what you need to do to heal, and you're not taking advice from some person hiding behind internet anonymity. Did I say that right? Internet anonymity? Who thinks that you're immoral because you're actually out there doing something about the problem, recovering for yourself, and happen to be making $1 out of it. Again, let's stop demonizing the women who are recovering from domestic abuse, and can we not chase after the men who are making it a problem? Again, in this case, it was male and female violence. I just used this up. That was horrifyingly bad timing for that makeup input. But let me do my lips, show you the finished look. I can't find any way to do these talks without doing makeup, and I can't find anything to talk about. When I'm doing makeup, it usually ends up being really serious, peppered with like, oh, this is a pretty lip. This is not a pretty lip, by the way. This is like my standard lip, but it's just my lips look better, so I love it. But anyway, thank you for listening. Thank you for being brave out there. If this applies to you, I hope it doesn't, but I know that there are people out there who it does. Don't let anybody take away your beauty, because it's on the inside, and no one else knows how much you're worth except you. And you are worth everything. Have a great day.